Hey, what's up, everyone? Andrew from American Musical Supply here. I'm really pleased today to be joined by Mr. Filipe Pampuri from Beetronics. How you doing, Filipe?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Starting the day positive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Beetronics is a new brand for us here at AMS, so we wanted to just get together on this call and talk about the Beetronics brand, just so that some of our viewers out there who maybe aren't familiar can learn a little bit about, what it is that you guys do and the great products that you create. So, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about how Beetronics came to be? No pun intended.
Cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this brand kind of got started by mistake a bit. Like, it wasn't never really an intention. Oh, let me start a brand. That was never my thing. I'm a musician, I'm a guitarist, I produce, and me and my brother, we've always been in the music business. Like, we're from Brazil, both of us, and we always been, playing, producing, recording for the most part of it. Like, we were always working in studios, me and my brother. We had a couple recording studios down in Brazil, and that's what we always done. And then for a while, we were in this band that got signed to a label here in Los Angeles, and we ended up moving to LA. And when I first came in, me and my brother, I always loved gear. Obviously, like I'm addicted, as I guess everybody who will watch this is. Uh, and whenever I got here, I saw that all the studios had the stacks, all these guys who would fix the gear from the studio. And in Brazil, fixing stuff and like it is a whole bigger issue than here because we don't have as much availability for parts and even people to do it, like the job, like if anything of yours breaks, it takes very long for you to give it to somebody and them having time to do it and all that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start fixing my own gear and doing my own stuff. And that's how I started on this. uh, so one entry point was pedals, like pedal kits and all that, and forums online, if guys talking about pedals, and were simple circuits that I could start developing at least some practice on, soldering and doing, basic stuff. And that's how I started. And I started making the pedals for myself while I was in that band and touring. And then eventually the band broke up, and some friends were always asking me, "Hey, dude, sell me a pedal, sell me a pedal." And I was like, no, I just made this for myself. My wife, she's an architect, and we used to, we started developing our boxes, like, the whole shaping of the boxes and all that. And we did that prior than of this becoming like a company. Was I was literally creating those boxes and all that because I like making stuff. I always liked, so I was like, all right, I want to make this for me. And that was the goal, even though I went after people to make the boxes and all that, but was mainly a personal thing. And then eventually I was broke, and a friend was like, "Hey, dude, let me buy a pedal now. Like, let me do it now." And then I sold that friend, and he is a really great bass player, like a session player from here from LA. Cash is his name. And that same week, he got me 2, 3 guys more to buy pedals. I was like, dude, I have a couple more guys who heard the pedal and like it. And that month, I paid my rent with that. And then I was just like, as much as I don't want to sell these because I really wanted them to be, my thing, like, oh, I have my own sound, I have my own pedals, and nobody has them. I eventually thought, all right, I guess this is a good idea, especially, being a musician, and just always running, doing as many gigs and as many things I could. And that's kind of how it went. Then I got together with my brother, my wife, and my sister-in-law at the time, and we all they started helping me out with a lot of stuff, and we started, uh, really becoming, doing to be a brand and stuff. And at the end of that year, we decided we were gonna do the NAM show, and we went in, and at that time we had these 2 pedals, which is the Octahive and the Walk the Hell, and we brought those to the NAM show. And that year we released the Overhive at the NAM show. Was our first NAM show, and it just went really well. It's really positive. The feedback that we got, and we started getting to stores and kind of slowly picking up stuff. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
So,
kind of by mistake, but
right.
This things just went.
Just was kind of like a happy accident, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what about in terms of effects? Like you make a lot of fuzz pedals, and is there a particular reason why you chose to start there, or is it just a sound that's really important to you? Or
I mean, I was always, for the most part, I played a lot of rock stuff for most part of my life. So I obviously like distortion gains, and all that. It was also something whenever I started, there is a lot online about it where you can research and start it. And I started making those for me. I made a walk to hell for myself, and that was the first pedal I sold to that friend. And it was mainly just trying to figure out, like finding circuits, modding stuff, and thinking, oh, what could I make better about this? What would I like? What features would I like? And was mainly just out of my necessity, let's put it that way, of like, oh, what do I want that I don't have? Or, and that's kind of how it went. And I always took, for the most part, I say that like, if I was thinking of starting a brand and all that, I would most likely have not picked, oh, let me start with a high octave fuzz and a low octave fuzz, and they're both kind of insane sounding, and like if it wasn't from a business perspective, would maybe have been better if I had, I don't know, made a delay or something, like, but at the time, and I kind of, I've always kept the brand kind of that way, just going with my vibe with, and has worked,
mm,
I just figure if I like stuff, there will be other musicians who will like it, uh I get some pretty good feedbacks as well, from my brother and everyone. My brother, he's a recording engineer here in LA, and he works with a lot of people, and we get uh to share a lot of ideas and concepts and showing. Like yesterday, I was here in the studio with two amazing musicians, like one of probably the best LA session players there is, Tim Stewart. And I was showing him some prototypes and, getting feedback from that kind of people, and just being, all that just, so I just kind of go with whatever I like. And I obviously hear opinions of other people, but mainly close people to me. And not,
right.
I try to not let, oh, now people like shimmer. All right, let's do shimmer. It's like, no, it's not my thing. I do what I like, and that's how I go.
That's cool. It certainly seems to be working for you, so that's a good thing. So
Uh,
is there a story behind like the name Beetronics, or how did
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, it doesn't really make much sense, even if I try to translate. But
I got you.
in Portuguese, at some point, somehow my nickname became Abelha, which means bee, and it just became Abelha absolutely for no reason at all. Like it's not like, oh no, it's just people used to call me Alemão, which means German. Uh, exactly because I didn't look any German. Uh, so it's just a thing, like, and then the words are similar. And when migrating, my friends just saying, and then at some point they started me calling me Abelhão, which is like big B, and then became Abelha, which is B, and that has always just stuck to it, and I just let it go, And then at the time, whenever I was making the pedals for myself, uh, one time I built this, so it was like a Mutron kind of thing, and it's called Musitronics, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just write a Beetronics, and then at the time it just was just a funny thing, and after I was just like, all right, I guess it doesn't sound bad,
That's cool. I love the way that it's such a personal thing to you. Like like even the name that first
Yeah,
off started with these personal. There's a
I
lot
guess
of
that,
like
that was the easy part. If I had to think too much about it, I'm very undecisive person who who'll stay for like hours between black or white, just trying to choose a color. So those things make it easier.
right, right, right. Oh, that's cool.
Just go
So let's
natural.
talk a little bit about some of the pedals that you make. So,
Yeah.
we're really excited that you are coming on board here at American Musical Supply and things. So, can you talk us through some of the models that you've got
Yes,
that
I
you've got
must
in the
say I'm
lineup?
very excited to be in as well. I, as a musician and gear addict, I have purchased many things through you guys. And one of my favorite guitars, in fact, which is here. This is it.
Oh man, beautiful.
Olive green. I bought it to you guys. Bought it when my son was born, so this one is very personal to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, so I'm super excited to be in. So yeah, we started the brand with the Octahive and the Walk the Hell at the time. The Octahive is a high octave fuzz in the vein of the Thai Cobra here. Pretty classic high octave fuzz for anybody looking into like the vintagey sound of like high octave stuff and like fuzz that can clean up, you can clean up rolling the volume down. Like it's a very dynamic pedal. That's what I would recommend. The Walk the Hell was our first crazier and out there. It's more like a synth type of pedal. So there is a drive control for it, which is, it doesn't control gain. It's just the volume of the overdriven sound. And then there is the low octave, which goes 1 octave below or 2 octaves below and sounds like a crazy synth and kind of, it glitches a lot and it's kind of part of the whole fun of playing it. And these two started the brand and created that a lot of the character. I would say like the Octahive remained as like a favorite for a lot of people from a lot of different genres and even different instruments. Like nowadays, I've seen a lot of people playing bass with it, which was definitely not the concept originally, but it sounds pretty good. We see a lot of blues guys playing it. We see a lot of stoner rock guys playing it. So it's pretty versatile. So after that, we released the Overhive, which is a mid-gain overdrive. It's the more mellow driving sound that we have. And it's really good as well, really versatile from blues and country guys like it, and all kinds of players tend to use that one because it's also very versatile. Even though the circuit is not that, but it's the one more in the vein of like I don't like to say that, but more on the tube screamer type of sound, like easier to use and like, very friendly and kind of works in most situations, even though it's not a TS, but it is, it is on that style. And then we have the Royal Jelly, which was, I guess, the pedal that got us started really growing the brand. Like once this pedal came out, we launched this pedal on the upcoming NAMM show or second NAMM show. We launched this in January, I think maybe 2018. If I'm not mistaken. And this was a pedal that I developed together with Howard Davis. Howard is known for the Deluxe Memory Man, the original, delay and that everybody loves. And we created this thing, which is an overdrive and fuzz blender. So it is a pretty simple interface pedal and but gives you a lot of stuff, and as well can be used on every instrument. Like recently, a little while ago, Aaron Sterling, the drummer for John Mayer,
Yeah,
he showed up, like he was on his Instagram and he was like showing pedals, and I was like, oh, I use this thing on my drums a lot, just to beef up. And I'm just like, I didn't expect that, the drummer showing, the jelly. So a lot of people use for different stuff, but it's great on guitar and bass. It's great on synths. So basically what it has is 2 presets of a blend between drive and fuzz. So if you go all the way to your left, you're on drive, all the way to your right, you are on fuzz. And then you can foot switch, use the foot switch to select which side you're on. So you can leave one side more towards drive, one side more towards fuzz, or however blends that you want. You can also blend in your dry signal, which makes it very useful for drummers, for bass players, and anybody that doesn't want to lose anything and kind of just really blend it in with their sound. You have a control for the gain of the overdrive. You have EQ. You also have a buzz switch, which turns up like a buzzing high end on the fuzz portion of the circuit. So this became a favorite for a lot of people and a lot of different things. So this was kind of what put us more on the map once, after we started. So I have much love for this pedal, and it is a great one. If as much as my favorites kind of float as we go, this would be probably the standard. Like, if you say, oh, I want to have one Beetronics that's gonna cover a lot of stuff and a lot of ground, and it's gonna show, a lot of what's about. This is a good one to try and have that vibe. And I'll go through a couple more. So after that, we released the Fat Bee, which was also a collaboration with Howard that I did. And as this is part of our baby series, which is this series with a little smaller enclosures, and I wanted to do something more. And this, I love this style of the whole thing with the knobs in the back, the way the old Fuzz, or and like the original Fuzz Stone and all that. So I really like that vibe. And either way, aside from design wise, sound wise, this is like how the name says, Fat B. It's like it really fattens up the tone. It's more of an overdrive in the vein of like a tube sound type of thing. It uses J-Fat, so it has more of that tube and rich sound like that. Very different, very, very different from the drive and the Royal Jelly, very different from the drive on the Overhive or anything that we have. And this is probably nowadays my thing that I use the most, kind of like it goes with me everywhere I go, because it just, I use it for clean tones, just to really beef up like the sound without adding, because it doesn't really have much gain, like as far as like on tap. What it has is that it pushes your amp so much that brings the best characters out of it together with to build the sound. But if you have if you have your amp a little crunchy, it can even sound fuzzy in some ways, like, but it is a different overdrive type of pedal, and I just love it. I just love it for mainly everything. And this is our Overhive, which is the mid gain one that I was talking about.
Wow.
Get a vibe. Cool. The craziest V, actually, the gnarliest one. Yes, the Swarm. So the Swarm is a PLL, a phase lock loop type of fuzz. So this thing came along, and it's a long story with my friend. I have this friend, Joe Barisi. Some people might know him. He's an incredible producer, like one of like the best producers in rock history, like he's like incredible. A guy here who lives here in LA, and he became my friend, and I came to visit his studio, and he pulled out this pedal, which the guy had made it for him, and he was like, oh, did I love this thing so much, and you got to try it. This guy made for me, like, I don't know how many years ago, and he only made a few, and a friend had one, but whatever. So me and my brother are there, and Joe shows us this pedal, and my brother comes out of there like saying, dude, we got to convince Joe, because we got to grab that pedal. We got to figure something out like that sound, and we got to do something in that vein. Like, I cannot, deal without us having that pedal and whatever. So Joe had told me a little bit about the story and the whole thing with the pedal, and how he had already seen some, phase lock loop type of pedals, but that one specifically had a few things that, that he was really attached to, and that he thought that, made it better than the others in his opinion. So I actually went after the guy that he had told me, and he didn't let me borrow that pedal, by the way, at the time, because I asked, but he didn't let me borrow the pedal. So I found the guy that made him the pedal, and I started talking to the guy, and I was like, I ended up making a deal with the guy to get the guy's circuit. And then I made some changes. We added a control, and I went through in my own way and how I viewed things. And that turned out to become the Swarm. Now, outside of the story, a little bit about how it sounds. So it is a pretty crazy, like square wave type of like synthy sounding pedal, right? So the fuzz is huge and like, crushed sound, like super loud and crazy. And then you have two harmonies, these two, and They are 1 octave apart, and then you have the species which sets 9 different options for the pitch. Uh, have octaves, some thirds, fifths, and it goes in weird way. Like that's why they're even numbered. Uh, they're not like, oh, octave, fifth, or this. And they're you have it in the manual if you need it, but you don't need it. Just hear it and set one that sounds cool and go with it. And then it has frequency modulation, like the sting and the flight. Uh, they will control how the harmony reacts, and the harmony can do some crazy like frequency modulation, and depending on the settings you are in, like it will do crazy drops, like you'll play a note and it will glide up to the note, and then once you let it go, it glides down, and you can find your ways to set that timing of the gliding down. So you're playing something and it will go up, and then you're tuning in, and you find the timing of that drop of the effect. So it's an effect that you kind of especially if you are using those features, you play to it, you play and you hear it, and it plays something kind of back to you, and you play again, and you create your riffs around the pedal, not now you create your riff and then you find a pedal that works. No, this is the kind of pedal where you grab it and you say, I'm gonna create a riff for this pedal. It ain't gonna work on a different pedal. It only will work on this one. So yes, this is kind of like the craziest and most out there. Like people love it, like from every type of guy like that I mean, obviously from Joe and all the stuff that he had already used. So a lot of those dudes loved that we put this out. uh all the guys that had seen his pedal and tried to steal as well, like I did, like because now they can have one. But aside from that, all kinds of stuff, like you can do it, you can use it on bass as well. We do stuff on like the Rhodes piano, run through this. It sounds insane, uh, to say the least. But it is a pretty cool and out there pedal if you're looking for something really different. This is really, really different. Like there's nothing that you're gonna hear that's even close to what this thing does. So it is out of the crazy and out there. It is a favorite because it is pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome. That's cool. Very cool that it's something that you can use to compose with rather than like
Yeah,
having to, you can use to get inspiration from.
yeah. I mean,
Interactive.
it's definitely one that takes some, like you gotta play to it, and then you get the feel of like, oh, this is what this knob does. Even the way we name the knobs and all that, and we do that for most pedals. Like this is like flight and sting and queen and drone and all that, and we don't give that much away. And especially on this pedal, this was one of my questionings and concerns. It has 7 controls, and I was like, am I gonna go crazy on 7 controls and keep all these crazy names where people are not gonna know what it is? And this pedal specifically, that's very, very well intended, because you don't want to overthink. Like you got to really hear how the pedal is reacting and mess with the knobs, and find settings that way that you wouldn't if you were thinking, oh, this will control that, this will do this, and then you already start thinking about it. And that's not the approach for this pedal. You got to play it and just hear it, and hear it how it plays back to you, and then you write something, and then you kind of keep on going back and forth with it. I feel like it's the best way to really get some cool like riffs and cool different things for this thing. So it is nice.
Yeah,
The
that's
pedal that
cool.
everybody who is into crazy and out there sounds like very like experimental. This is like the beast. So yeah,
That's the one.
yes. And now for the last one is the one that's coming out a few days from when we're shooting this. But so this is the Vespa. We're super excited about it. This is the second pedal on our baby series, and if you can get a good look of it, this is a pretty
Wow.
cool and neat pedal.
Yeah.
Um,
I love the artwork.
it's cool, right? It's my friend. His name is Karamuru. He's from Brazil, and he's one of the artists that have worked with us from the beginning. We are very into blending the whole thing. I'm very into art. If you go through our line and uh, through the whole brand, if you go to our website, you'll see that we have a custom shop section where we hand paint pedals and all that, and those look pretty sick. So I'm all about blending the art with, you know, music and visuals and design and all that. Uh, and Karamuru has designed many of our posters, which people tend to really like our posters. They're super cool. Every pedal that we launch, we put out a poster together, and they're pretty cool looking. So Karamuru designed this the faceplate for this thing. Uh, so this one, it sets a new era for me and for the brand in a sense of like, this is the first pedal to blend digital controls with analog circuits. It does it in a pretty simple way. Uh, However, it's really musical and really usable. So what it does is, this is a high octave fuzz. We call it like an extreme high octave fuzz, right? Because it's more if you have like the octahive where you get dynamics and you get to, you know, clean up your sound, you get to do all that, you know, Jimmy type of fuzz stuff. This is not that. This one here, this one is a more extreme and like wall of fuzz. You know, it's an OPM based fuzz, so it is pretty, you know, big, and it sounds like huge and very very fuzzy. The controls are sustain and master volume. The sustain really does what the name says. A sustain, it doesn't clean up the sound as much. It's not like a gain control or nothing like that. It really dials in how much sustain it's gonna have it until it forts out, and at very low sustain you can do that very cool like gated weird like, you know, forting guitar tone. And with the high gain, with the sustain open all the way up, it gets huge. uh, but the star of this pedal is the foot switch, which is, let's say, like a smart foot switch. So what it does is, if you just click it, it will turn it on. If you hold it, once the pedal is off, it understands that that was a hold. And then once you let it go, it shuts off immediately. So it works momentarily, or, you know, turns on and off on its own without you having to set anything. So, you know, a quick click will turn the pedal on. Once the pedal is on, if you double click, it flips between the modes, the the no octave or the high octave, right? And if you double click, it flips back. But then once the pedal is on as well, if you hold it, it will momentarily flip to the other mode, not the mode that's in, whichever you're in, it flips to the next one. And that's, I feel like the coolest feature about this pedal, because uh, it gives you a lot of uses. So for example, you can enhance certain notes the way it is, and the way the octave pops up, and it really pops up. It's like extreme high octave, like extreme harmonics. Uh, if you use it like by surfing the holding function, where you're playing in certain notes, you hold it for a second, and then you go on the bend and you hold it again, like those harmonics popping up, they almost sound like a watt type of effect, you know, because they are, you know, messing with the EQ, almost the filtering of the sound, right? And popping all those harmonics. So it gets you like in some weird ways, like very unique ways, like for you to enhance certain notes, or even uh like this whole holding functions, like it lets you use, for example, if you have a section on a song that you want to vary between clean and a distorted part, like you can go in at that without having to double click, like turn it on, turn it off very quick, or anything like that. You just step on it and take your foot off, and then you're back at clean, or, you know, whichever way around you want to do this. But that's what I would say it is, like the aside from the sound, which sounds really cool, and I love the sound of this thing, but this whole function turns it very musical and very fun to play. Like with through the past weeks, I've been having some friends come by, and I've been shooting videos, and I've been seeing their first reaction to this, and they really have a lot of fun playing. They're like, oh shit, like I can do things that I don't do it usually, you know, with other, especially high octave fuzzes. So it is something that we're super excited, and we have many more things coming in the way that are going to start blending the digital controls and analog circuit in very very musical ways. This was a very very tiny piece of what we have already in the works. Like, so I'm super excited for this and for what's to come. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's super creative. Like I don't know really like another company that's doing things like that where it's like with that smart switching. I know
Yeah.
there's people that have momentary switching and things like that out there, but to be able to switch modes like that by just like holding a button down and things, this is really creative.
Yeah. I mean, I try to make it as intuitive as possible, and it is a little scary even putting it out there because there are not many pedals that have
Mhm.
those functions, and we're like, oh, how's it gonna be once people pick up in a store for the first time and they have no idea, especially because we make sure to not help much in that way because the pedal just look as crazy as it can be, so it doesn't really give you many clues of like how this goes. But once you grab it in your foot and you just play with it, it gets very intuitive, like, and pretty quick to just pick it up. And we have actually developed a lot of like this. Part of my main goal whenever I'm thinking of pedals and concept wise, and for the most part, what I do is studio work and with my brother and all that. So I try to think of things that are turn it very musical, and as far as interface, as far as how I've always thought of the pedals and the way the knobs are, and even all that are always thought out, like certain knobs are bigger and certain knobs are smaller, and that's in my head me processing on how I feel like what's more important, how people should see, and what's the approach for certain things that are gonna make people use it in a different way. And all that for me matters, because it gives you the false idea sometimes of like, oh, this is more important than that, or this is where I should go first. I don't know, just the whole thing. So I try to make it as musical and as user friendly, kind of chewing it a bit already before giving to people try it. So it is. I don't know. It's
Uh,
kind of my approach to things. So
that's really cool. Very cool. There's a lot of it seems like a lot of thought really goes into like, your concept behind something and really like designing something that musicians are going to, I mean, find inspiring as a tool because that's what we're all kind of looking for, right?
yeah,
So
I mean, especially on the fuzzy, like this one, like a lot of the fuzz people are very into the vintage things, and we always had like all of our pedals up until now are like a true bypass with a click, like and this one's the first one that has like a momentary like no click, and all that, like there are not many fuzz pedals that do integrate that kind of stuff, so we were like, all right, let's go for it, let's do something that's different. And even the knobs in the back, sometimes some people are like, oh, well, I like to see my knobs. No, you don't need to keep your eyes on your knobs, like keep your head on your music, and don't think about the knobs, just play and you feel it. You don't need to see if it's in the maximum or not, just play to it, like hear it, and if it sounds, play something that sounds good to that, so that's kind of how I tend to go.
yeah, right on. That's a great concept. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us today, taking us through, telling us a little bit about your story and then also taking us through your products. This was really great to get to know you a little bit and to hear about your design philosophy and the tools that you make. So thank you.
Thank you, Maria. It's my pleasure. We're very excited to be in, and I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys get to try. Whoever is watching gets to try our stuff, and I hope it helps you. Create some cool and creative music. And any ways that it helps, I'm happy. And also,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, if you're watching this and you're interested in finding out more about, Beetronics products and maybe picking some one or multiple pedals up for yourself, you can visit our website, which is americanmusical.com. And these are live on the site right now, and you can certainly go check them out there. So, Felipe, thank you so much again for your time. It was great spending a little bit of time with you, and
yeah.
look forward to the many new products and releases that are to come from Beetronics. So thanks again.
Oh yeah. Thank you, man.